25 years ago in one of my third grade classrooms, at free time after lunch, Terry put up a sign on his desk. The sign said, "Be all that you can be." So not quite sure what he was about because I knew that slogan. There were ads all over. I called him over and he explained that he was going to have a game that was about the army. So he kind of told me he was going to strategize. He was going to build things out of the Lego blocks, and he had all these ideas. He just needed to recruit some other guys for his army. So I said, sounds okay, we just have to follow the usual rules. No physical violence. No saying you can't play to someone who wants to join. And no forcing someone to join. So Terry went off and he had his sign, and a couple of other members of the class were intrigued, and they came over, signed up for the army, and day after day the guys sat there on the rug and they built things, and I just didn't know what was going on. Couldn't figure out what the fun was in it. Some people came in, went out, some people didn't even look over at them, and it just kept going. And I just came to the realization that I didn't get it because I wasn't involved in it. Because sometimes you kind of have to be in it to really get what's going on. In today's gospel reading, we see Jesus at the temple. And he is in the outer part of the temple. Even the Gentiles can be there. He's by the Solomon's portico. It's kind of a shaded area. We actually have quite a few Bible stories set right there. And it's Hanukkah, so it's winter time. If you know the story of Hanukkah, you know that it was a time when the Jewish people remembered their victory over Syria, the oppressor, and how the Maccabees had this small group of fighters from among the Jewish people had managed to just hammer away. That's what Maccabee means. Hammer away at the Syrian army until they were liberated. And then they had the rededication of the temple because it had been defiled, it had been used for other things. And then we have the miracle of the oil, which most people know why Hanukkah is an 8-day celebration. So on the people's mind is liberation. They're celebrating a feast of liberation. And on their mind is who the Messiah, this long-awaited Messiah, might be. A liberator, but maybe one with military might. So they say to Jesus, who has been there have been miracles, there have been talk, they said, tell us plainly, are you the Messiah? Tell us, just help us to believe that you are the Messiah. And Jesus says to them, you have seen me at work. I have explained it before. You have to be in the fold to believe. His exact words actually are, the works that I do in my Father's name testify to me, but you do not believe because you do not belong to my sheep. He doesn't mean that you have to believe first and then be a part of the fold. It's actually the opposite. It is in the fold, it's by being a member of the fold that you take that faith journey and come to believe. That's why Jackson is here this morning. Because if we waited until we were firm in our belief, until we had no doubt in our hearts, we would not be here this morning. We take this journey together as a community. The invitation is for all who would like to take that journey as a community with Jesus as the shepherd. It is a wonderful thing to do together because we help each other to grow in faith. It is the Bible stories that we hear, that Jackson will hear in Sunday school and in church. It is the songs that we sing that help us. They witness to what God is and who God can be in our lives. But you know what really, really helps? It's the stories we tell each other about the times when we walked through those shadowy valleys. Sometimes we didn't even know that Jesus was there with us. But when we got to the other side, we realized that not only did Jesus walk with us, he sometimes carried us. It's about the rocky places that we can witness to. And when we tell each other the stories, we encourage people when they are going through their rocky times. It's the times even when we're on the mountains, when we're in the valleys, when we tell the stories and witness to who God is, that will increase our faith. So that like the children, the teens, who were confirmed yesterday, we get to a point when we claim that faith as our own. That is our hope for Jackson this morning. That he will walk with us on our journey and one day will come to that place where he can say, I believe in Jesus. The Jesus who is my shepherd, the Jesus who I can trust. Because the Greek word that we translate as believe means trust. It is about growing to trust in Jesus. In a couple of minutes during our baptism, we will say the Nicene Creed. That creed came out of a community that for 400 years grew to know who Jesus was in relationship to the ways God manifested themselves in their lives of faith. 400 years it took the early church to come up with that understanding of who God was as Father, as Son, and as Holy Spirit. We too need time to do our journey, to grow in faith, to proclaim our own creed. Who is God for us in our lives? What does it mean to trust in Jesus? What does it mean to allow the Spirit to move through our lives? That is why we journey together. And you know, it is not a spectator sport. We cannot stay on the outside and fully understand and come to believe. Because that faith that's growing also moves us into action. Like Dorcas in the story that's, was it Marisol? Was it you who read the story of Dorcas? God gave her a gift and she used it in ministry. We have been harassing those poor, newly confirmed people. What is your gift? Are you going to be a Eucharistic minister within this church? Are you going to be an usher, part of the altar guild? What gifts has God given you to help this community of faith? Each of us has a gift that will be used for God's kingdom building. And a part of being part of this faith body is to learn what that gift is, not a spectator sport. We have to be in it to get it. Amen.
Amen.